Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It's Thursday. We are getting towards the weekend, nearly the end of the week, nearly. Unfortunately, no Arsenal to look forward to this weekend, of course, but Tuesday night's game at Nottingham Forest is edging ever closer. So it's the end of the transfer window, which is the day after that game against Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. Not quite sure much is going to happen between now and then, but we shall wait and see. Still plenty to discuss in today's show. Wanted to focus it, first of all, on the decisions facing Mikel Arteta, really, when it comes to his midfield, given the imminent, fingers crossed, return of Thomas Partey. Just wanted to have a little look at what Mikel might do and get your views on it as well. So please do let me know what you think the Arsenal midfield should look like going forward when everyone is back fit and available. Look at Leah Williamson's brilliant return yesterday after so long out, of course, for Arsenal women in that 6-0 win against Reading in the Conti Cup. Fantastic to see Leah back and contributing with an assist as well straight away. Takehiro Tomiyasu's been in action over at the Asian Cup. Got lots of questions and comments from you guys. Lots of responses to the Victor Osimhen stuff I spoke about yesterday, which was very, very interesting. So lots to get stuck into. Before we start, just quickly, myself and James Benge are sitting down for Inside Arsenal Extra Time a little bit later on today. We're going to record at about 1 p.m. UK time on Thursday. So by the time this goes out, you'll probably have about 2.5 hours to respond. If you want to get involved in Inside Extra Time, be part of the Q&A section that we do, then please do leave your question or your opinion, your comment, anything you want us to discuss in the show down below in the comment section to this video. Just start it with Extra Time, and then as usual, your comment, question, opinion, and I'll pull some of them together and you can all get involved in today's show. Right, let's start, shall we, with the Arsenal midfield. I'm really intrigued by this. Obviously, we've been waiting a long time to kind of be in this position. Whether we're there on Tuesday, we'll have to wait and see. As I reported earlier in the week, Thomas Partey is now, as far as I'm aware, back in full training. That was the plan. I haven't heard anything's changed, but we shall wait and see. That doesn't necessarily mean he's definitely going to be involved against Nottingham Forest. Arsenal will, of course, take medical advice, look at all the data and decide if that is the right time to bring him back. If it is, then it's going to be really interesting to see what Mikel Arteta does going forward. It might be that Thomas Partey starts on the bench, even if he is fit. Whether he would go straight into the starting 11 at the City Ground, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit too early. You want to ease him back in. But very, very soon, providing there's no setbacks, he is going to be fully fit and available to play for this Arsenal team. And so how does the midfield look after that? We haven't really seen it yet this season. Of course, we saw in the Community Shield, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard and Thomas Partey play together. That's the only time we've seen those three line up in that kind of midfield three in the system that Arteta tends to go with in the 4-3-3. Other than that, of course, Thomas Partey started the league season playing in that inverted right back role, whatever you want to call it. None of us really liked it. Mikel Arteta clearly did because he kept persisting with it. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that is not something we're going to see too much when Thomas Partey comes back. I'm sure it's probably something we will see a bit, but I would hope, fingers crossed again, that he will be back in midfield, and that will be the main sort of area that Mikel Arteta is looking to use him. So what does he do? What is Arsenal's best midfield? I think that's such an important question going forward in terms of how Arsenal set up. They've spent a lot of money on Kai Havertz, and whatever your thoughts on him, Mikel Arteta clearly wants that to work. He's given him a lot of opportunities for it to work. He's playing in a lot of games, but should Thomas Partey come back, then, and you look at that midfield three of Thomas Partey, Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard, where does Kai Havertz go? Does he just go on the bench? A lot of people will say yes. Does he go up front? Does he play as a 9? Is he the other main option as Arsenal's central striker alongside Gabriel Jesus? For me, that is what I want to see. But again, it depends what Mikel Arteta wants to do. But I think it's really, really interesting. I mean, well, look, the good thing is, whatever happens, Arsenal are going to be in a really strong position with Thomas Partey back, because that gives Mikel so many options. Even if he wants to try his right back thing, experiment, whatever you want to call it, that we saw at the start of the season, it does give him the option to do that. And he's always wanted his big aim this season at Arsenal. A lot of the summer transfer business was about making Arsenal more unpredictable, that people didn't know, teams didn't know what Arsenal were going to do, how they were going to set up. The return of Thomas Partey will allow that to happen much, much more. And then the imminent return, fairly imminent return of Jurrien Timber will do exactly the same on the other side as well. So it's going to make Arsenal really, really strong, I think. And it's a really exciting prospect for the second half of the season in terms of what they can do and the options that they have. I mean, Liverpool coming up, in under 2 weeks' time now. You would love a fully fit Thomas Partey in that team, in the base of the midfield, with Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard ahead of him in that midfield three. I think that would be such a good option. I also like the option potentially of having Declan and Thomas Partey playing much closer together in that kind of pairing that we saw against Liverpool in the FA Cup when he went with Jorginho and Declan Rice, which I thought worked really well actually, and it was a nice little shake-up of the system and of the formation, and it definitely caught Liverpool by surprise. Jurgen Klopp admitted that afterwards, so that's another option that they have. So, love to get your views on it. What do you think Mikel Arteta should do when it comes to his midfield? The decisions he's got to make. How do you think he should play it? What do you want to see? Let me know anything that I've just discussed in this section of the show. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Okay, moving on. Takehiro Tomiyasu was in action for Japan yesterday. They won 3-1 against Indonesia, so they have booked their place through into the knockout stages of the Asia Cup. Congratulations to them. Obviously, for Arsenal, you want to see Tomiyasu do well, of course, but for Arsenal, it means he's going to be out there for at least another week. We don't know who they're going to play yet in the round of 16. That will be decided today when the other group stage games are completed. I think the game takes place next Wednesday or Thursday, or possibly Tuesday. I should have double checked that before I come out. But it's at some point next midweek. And should Japan go out, it would be about 3 days or 4 days before the Liverpool game, which you would think that Tommy could potentially come back and be involved in that game. So, and if he is involved, if he is here and he's fit, it wouldn't at all surprise me if he starts in that game ahead of Alexander Zinchenko, albeit there's probably going to be no Mohamed Salah for him to deal with. We know that Mikel Arteta likes that option of having Tomiyasu against Mohamed Salah. So, but anyway, look, for Tomiyasu's sake, you hope Japan go on and they have a really good tournament and they win the tournament because that's what he wants. So, but from a purely selfish Arsenal point of view, if he were to go out in the next round, then there is still a slight possibility that he could be involved. He got about 82 minutes yesterday as well. And the good thing with this tournament for Tomiyasu, and for Arsenal's sake, as long as he doesn't get injured, is it allows him to work his way back to fitness. So when he does come back to Arsenal, he will have had plenty of minutes under his belt and will, hopefully be pretty sharp. And he hadn't played much football by the time he went away. So it can work kind of in Arsenal's benefit as well. But yeah, good luck to Tomiyasu when that knockout round comes calling. Transfer wise, there's not much going on, as I sound like I've said that over and over again throughout the transfer window. There is more talk about Tavares and Marseille. Marseille on that lookout for a left back have turned their attentions back to Tavares. He's on their list, but it's complicated because he's at Nottingham Forest. Nuno Espirito Santo apparently doesn't really want to let Tavares go. Arsenal don't have a recall option in his contract, so they can't just call him back and then let him go to Marseille. Tavares, certainly according to reports in France, is very keen to go back to Marseille. So it's an interesting one. We've got, 6 or 7 days left of the window. It'll be interesting to see what happens. For Arsenal's point of view, if Marseille are offering a bit of money for Nuno Tavares, then I'm sure ideally they probably wouldn't mind taking it and letting him go. But again, without a break clause in that contract to bring him back from Nottingham Forest, and they've not really got too many routes to go down. They've just got to sit there and hope that Nottingham Forest allow him to leave. There has been suggestions that would happen, but right now it appears that Nuno wants him to stay. So that's something that might have legs. It's something to keep an eye on in the window, alongside the likes of Cedric Suarez, who could still potentially go. We know the interest is there from Besiktas and some Turkish clubs and some clubs across Europe, including Spain, in him. Will he go before the end of the window? Potentially so. But, when that's the big talking point, Cedric Suarez's future, then you're in the middle of a pretty quiet January transfer window. Okay, just moving on to brilliant news. Leah Williamson coming back after that horrible ACL injury, came back against Reading in the Conti Cup, 6-0. Arsenal won. Leah Williamson popping up with a trademark assist, one of those lovely long passes out from the back into the path of Beth Mead. Brilliant finish from Beth Mead. The two of them combining, two of them have just, Beth Mead's obviously been back a lot longer. Both of them, though, having fought their way back from an ACL injury. Great to see them combine for that goal, and just brilliant to see Leah back on the pitch. She's been absolutely missed. And she said after the game, it was the perfect scenario. I've worked hard. I've kept my head down for a moment like today. I sat on the bench with my teammates who couldn't have been more supportive, and then returned to the pitch. The girls gave me a good reception, and so did the fans. It was lovely. Yeah, fantastic to see. And on Kim Little was talking about it, and she said, I couldn't be prouder of her. She's worked extremely hard. You've probably all seen that. And then she comes back like she's never been away. I can't wait to get back on the pitch with Leah more often. Yeah, really fantastic scenes to see Leah back. And, for Jonas and for everyone, the squad, it's just a real huge boost as they work their way through the season. Still plenty for the women to play for as well. And defending their Conti Cup in style with that excellent 6-0 win yesterday at Reading. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and comments now. I've got a few of these to go through. Rajubu Lukanza, I hope I've got that right, says, hello, Charles, big fan of the channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I really want to ask your opinion on next summer transfer window and your opinion on competition for Saka's position. I'm one of Saka's biggest fans. He's a great player, but Arteta doesn't want to rotate him and give him competition for his position. Like other players, his standards dropped at the end of last season, which cost us the title. I know he wasn't the only one. Maybe Saliba's injury as well was the pressure of the situation. But he said, let's not sign in January, but in the summer window, I'd really love to see Pedro Neto, who would be a great addition to play at least 10 Premier League games and play other competitions. A great option from the bench. We should also sign Zubamendi, sell Ramsdale and Jorginho. Look, Pedro Neto will be right at the top of my list, Rajabu, of who I think Arsenal should sign. And they do want not replacement. They do want cover, stroke, competition, whatever you want to call it, for Bukayo Saka. We've seen that in players. They've targeted Pedro Neto in the past. They tried to sign Rafinha. They're well aware that they do need to bring someone in to play on that right-hand side, but the players they've gone for so far, have been interested in so far, have proved unattainable. I think they will go for someone again in that position. I think they will exactly agree with what you're saying there, and they will go for someone. And for me, Pedro Neto would be absolutely perfect. There is this sort of slight worry of his injury record, and Arsenal had their fair share of injury-prone players and signed their fair share of injury-prone players, and it's never worked out too well. So there is a bit of a question mark over that. But in terms of what he can offer and how he plays, the pace that he's got, I just think he'd be absolutely brilliant. And he can play on either flank as well, and just looks ready to really take the next step up in his career. And I would be delighted if Arsenal would sign Pedro Neto in the summer, and he's certainly going to be right up there in the list for me. But of course, you have to balance the books, and he will be expensive. The striker that Arsenal try and sign is going to be expensive. The midfielder that Arsenal are going to try and sign is going to be expensive. So you have to balance the books. And like you said, when you talk down there, selling some players, Ramsdale potentially. So they've still got, of course, to pay for David Raya, which they haven't done yet as well. So that needs to be factored into the summer spending. So it's all about balancing the books, and selling players is going to be absolutely crucial, whether that be Ramsdale, whether that be Smith Rowe, whether they can get some money for Tierney, Reece Nelson, players like that remains to be seen. But yeah, I agree 100%. That side should be a priority. I think it will be a priority, and I would love it to be Pedro Neto. Here's one from Nigel. It says, unpopular opinion, capital letters. But I'm not sure Victor Osimhen to Arsenal or in the Premier League guarantees the goals that people think. He'll have to make a lot of improvements in his games. I think a player like Matthias Tel at Bayern has a better all-around skill set. Lightning quick, strong, brilliant dribbler in tight spaces and can finish. 100 million for Osimhen is bad business. It's a deal that has Chelsea written all over it. Well, Nigel, you say there unpopular opinion in capital letters, but if you look below, at the time that I pick this question up, it has 45 likes under it. So I don't think it is an unpopular opinion. And having gone through a lot of the comments and questions from yesterday's show, definitely don't think it's an unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people are of the same opinion as you. For me, look, I'm open to it. I'm just going to trust whoever they sign when it comes to the striker, whether that be Tony, whether that be Osimhen, whether that be Boniface, any of these players that they're sort of being linked with. The guy at Bologna, whose name escapes me for now and probably will continue to escape me. But yeah, whoever it is, I'm keeping an open mind and wait and see who they put their money on. But Matthias Tel, I think, is a really good shout. I think whenever I've seen Matthias Tel play, he looks a hell of a talent. He really, really does. Like you said, his skill set's excellent. For me, I would love Arsenal to sign Alexander Isak from Newcastle. It would be almost. It feels like it would be very, very hard to do. They obviously need to sell a couple of players, but I think Isak will be right down at the bottom of the list of the players that they would like to sell. I just think he fits into this Arsenal team perfectly. I think he can play out wide if needs be. He can play central striker. I think his link-up play is excellent. His finishing is shown to be really good. He can score goals in the Premier League. He's strong. He's got a bit of aggression to him. I just think he ticks all the boxes when it comes to Arsenal and signing a forward, and he's right up there for me in terms of my personal wish list. But yeah, thank you very much for that. And like I said, I don't think you need to put unpopular opinion then, because I think that the numbers underneath that from when it comes to the likes speaks for itself. I don't think it is an unpopular opinion at all. Right, moving on to Vet Para now. Says Zinchenko is so important to how Arsenal play. I literally think the first question they get asked before Arteta selects his team is whether Zinchenko is fit or not. Not saying he is our best player, but tactically he is absolutely key to Arsenal. That is 100% correct. I think when Timber comes back, we'll see Zinchenko play at left 8 a fair bit. Can bet your bottom dollar that the same people who have been complaining about Timber not being good on the ball as Zinchenko when he slots into the fullback role eventually. Players have different qualities, how he fits into a team, how they complement each other, and how the manager adjusts a team's balance based on the opposition and available personnel is what makes football less predictable and more exciting than other sports. Yeah, really good comment. I thought that's why I wanted to include it. And I think you're absolutely spot on. Zinchenko is really important to us, how Arsenal play. Like him, love him, hate him. Don't rate him, whatever your personal opinion of Zinchenko, and I would hope that no one hates him. He's a very, very good footballer. Technically, he's one of the best footballers that Arsenal have, and he is absolutely essential to how this team plays and how this team will play. Continuing, when Timber comes back, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with Zinchenko and what the plan is, how he's going to be used. I think the left 8 role suits him really well. I would like to see him play in that role more, maybe not all the time, but I think he's definitely a good option to play there. And that might well happen when Timber comes back, but it's going to be really interesting. But I thought that was a good comment, so I wanted to include it. Thank you very much, Vet Para. Here's one from Gunnar Coops. He says, Charles, do you think we should primarily focus on a top 4 finish? We aren't good enough this season to win the EPL, but top 4 is a must if we're going to continue to improve. I mean, top 4 is a must if we're going to continue to improve, yes, but no way do I think we should focus on a top 4 finish. And I don't agree that we're not good enough to win the title this season. I think this squad can win the title. I think it definitely can. I'm not saying it will, but I think it can. It's had a blip. It's had a few bad results, but they're still there and they're still in touching distance. And I'm absolutely not ready to wave the white flag just yet. But I agree. Yes, top 4 is a must. Arsenal have to get a few seasons consecutively in the Champions League now to build up the finances, to allow them, give them more spending power, to just make them feel, a proper solid addition again to the elite that Europe has to offer. They need to be seen to be in that competition consistently, season after season. That's so key to the project and to continuing to build. But no, that shouldn't be the primary focus. Winning the Champions League or winning the Premier League, that has to be the focus. And I think it will be the focus 100%. Here's one from David. I think this is the last one of the show. It is the last question of the show from David. Says, at the start of the season, Gabriel was benched and we saw Partey at right back, Timber Kivior at left back. Thinking back, it was really strange to not have Gabriel in the starting 11, given his great form last year and also this year. Interested in your thoughts on this situation in hindsight, and do you think Gabriel's starting position could be in jeopardy again when our injured players return? Thank you. Do I think it'll be in jeopardy again? No, and I really hope it doesn't. Again, at the time, there was more going on with Gabriel than just it being a tactical thing. I know Mikel kept saying it was a tactical thing, but I reported at the time there was more going on to it. There was very, very strong interest from Saudi Arabia clubs in Gabriel. Arsenal didn't want him to go, and I think that played a big part in what was happening in terms of him not being in the team. I think there was, the money that was being offered, that sort of thing. It can turn anyone's head. I'm not saying his head was completely turned, but I think there was that sort of stuff. There was distractions going on off the pitch at that time that certainly played a part in him not being in the starting 11 at the start of the season. And I mean, you just look at how good he is. You look at his relationship with William Saliba. You look at his presence in both boxes. It just makes no sense tactically. For a lot of people I know question Mikel Arteta, and quite rightly so, but he's a smart man at the end of the day. And it doesn't take much to see that Gabriel and William Saliba are Arsenal's best 2 centre-backs. So to not play one of them for tactical reasons, it just makes no sense. And so no, I don't think his position is going to be under threat. I think whatever happens when Timber comes back, when Partey comes back, I still think Gabriel and William Saliba will be Arsenal's centre-backs for a long, long time. And so they should, because they're, in my mind, they're the best centre-back partnership in the league. And Gabriel is one of the best signings that not just Arsenal have made in the last few years, but any Premier League side has made in the last few years. And that's it. Thank you very much. everyone. Like I said, myself and James Benjamin will be sitting down a little bit later on today to record Inside Arsenal Extra Time. Anything you want us to talk about in that show, then please do let us know in the comments below. Remember, just start it with extra time and then give your comments. I think we're going to talk quite a bit about what we think, the pair of us think, when everyone's fit, is Arsenal's strongest starting 11. So when everyone's fit and available to Mikel Arteta, what is Arsenal's strongest starting 11? I think we're going to spend a bit of time talking about that. So if you want to get involved in that discussion, then please do. Again, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Until then, everyone, have a very good Thursday. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.